You do not know this, but your silence has shaken the rooms you once walked into, louder than any words you ever spoke. People look at you, waiting for you to react, waiting for you to break, waiting for you to apologize for things you never did. But you simply stand there, calm like still water, and that confuses them. They cannot understand how someone who has endured so much can remain so steady. They cannot understand why you stay silent without collapsing, stay silent without disappearing, stay silent while keeping your soul intact. And so they fear you. They fear you the way people fear something they cannot grasp, cannot control, cannot predict. They say you are cold. They say you are distant. They say you are hard to read. But beneath all those labels lies a truth they will never admit. You make them see the truth of who they are. Because when you stand still, they lose someone to blame when you do not react. They lose someone to manipulate. And when you do not explain or soothe or lower yourself to keep the peace, they lose the place where they hide their own chaos. Psalm 25 verse 14 says, God reveals his covenant to those who fear him. You do not know that in the moments when you stay silent, choosing not to fight, not to prove anything, you are standing on sacred ground that protects your soul. You do not know that your stillness is your declaration to heaven, that you do not need their chaos to know who you are. And heaven hears that more clearly than any prayer you have ever spoken aloud. People are used to seeing the broken ones scream for help, used to seeing wounded souls cling to someone, used to seeing fragile hearts beg for peace from another person. But you are not like that. You do not beg. You do not bow. You do not shake even when everything around you tries to tear you apart. You walk into a room as if you carry your own climate, a peace not borrowed but forged through pain and awakening. You do not try to impress anyone. You do not try to make anyone understand. But every time you enter, the air shifts. People notice this even before you notice it in yourself. Someone once asked why the silence of one person can make others so uneasy, but you already understand. Noise is the blanket that covers the parts they refuse to face. When you remove that blanket with your silence, they tremble. They see clearly the insecurity they always hide. They see the smallness they cover with stories, with games, with controlling the emotions of others. Your presence becomes a mirror they do not want to look into. You do not do anything at all, but your not doing becomes the force that exposes them. They try to break you because you do not belong to their performance. They throw rumors, create scenes, and spread half-truths to see if you will lose control, but you do not bend. You do not chase after clarifications. You do not use your voice to defend the truth to people who do not care about the truth. You simply stand straight, keeping your stillness like a thin blade, sharp enough to cut without ever being swung. They have never faced someone like that, and it terrifies them. You are like a wolf moving through the night forest. No growling, no threats, no signals. Yet every step is a warning. The lion makes noise to declare territory. The wolf does not need to. It knows who it is without anyone else confirming it. And you are the same. You do not prove anything to anyone. You do not run after people to explain why you live this way, why you choose this way, why you remain silent this way. You hold your stillness the way you hold your breath, light but unwavering. And it is this stillness that angers them. You already know this, but sometimes you forget why they react so strongly to your silence. It is because your silence takes away their power. People can only manipulate you when you are chasing their approval, when you want them to understand you, when you try to keep them close with kindness or compassion. But you have stepped out of that territory. You no longer let them touch the rhythm of your heart. You no longer let them disturb the peace you paid so much to gain. And that is when they begin to hate you. Not because they truly hate you, but because they hate the feeling of losing control over you. They hate that you can see through their performance. They hate that you no longer shake when they are angry, no longer soften when they blame you, no longer feel wounded when they leave or throw their punishing silence at you. You do not collapse. You do not lose yourself. You simply stand there looking at them as if you can see every truth they hide behind the noise. And that is what they fear the most. Because nothing scares a person more than being seen by someone they cannot hide from. You do not say a word, but you make them see the empty spaces they have spent their whole life covering. They do not hate you. They hate the light you carry. You once believed you were silent because you were hurt. But the truth is the opposite. You are silent because you are awake. You are silent because you refuse to add your voice to someone else's storm. You are silent because you know those battles are not yours. And when you choose not to step into them, they lose the partner they relied on to keep their chaos alive. They become angry because you left the game without warning. But that is the first step of those who are chosen, to walk away from what no longer nourishes the soul. You do not walk away because you are cold. You walk away because the wisdom within you has grown enough to understand that not every battle deserves your energy. Not everyone is worthy of the peace you carry. People are used to seeing you soften, used to seeing you lower your voice to keep the harmony, used to seeing you blame yourself just so someone else can feel comfortable. But then one day, not out of anger or heartbreak, you simply stop. No sound, no warning. You leave the chaos the way someone leaves a smoke-filled room, without looking back, without regret. They think it is numbness, but you know it is not. You are not freezing your feelings. You are simply refusing to place your soul in the hands of people who never valued it. And that is what startles them. They are used to the version of you that bends, the version that is patient, the version that explains. They are used to you calming their storms without ever noticing the storm rising inside you. When you stop explaining, stop chasing, stop trying to make everything smooth, they no longer know how to face you. Because the person standing before them now is no longer someone who can be pulled back into old cycles. The person standing before them sees through their false kindness. And this truth frightens them. You no longer need closure from them. They once believed you would come back, that you would try to talk, that you would demand answers for the things left unresolved. But you have come to understand what spiritually mature people already know. Not every explanation brings peace. Not every truth saves your soul. Sometimes leaving quietly is the only way to protect yourself from repeated wounds. The moment you stop seeking answers, every bit of power they thought they had collapses. You do not need them to see you clearly. You do not need them to admit they're wrong. You do not need them to speak the final word. You close the door from the inside, and that makes them lose control, because the only power they ever had came from the emotions you once gave them. And now, you keep those emotions for yourself. Psalm 37 verse 4 says, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart." You do not realize that the calm you choose is the deepest spiritual act you have ever made. Because when you choose peace over argument, silence over fairness, walking away over clinging on, you stand closer to the light than ever before, not because you are fragile, not because you are giving up, but because you are mature enough to know that life never blesses those who beg chaos to stay. Life blesses those who let go. Your separation is not an escape. It is a declaration that you no longer dance to someone else's rhythm, a declaration that you choose clarity for yourself over comfort for others, a declaration that you will not sit at a table where you are only invited to carry the weight of someone else's mistakes. You do not return because you no longer belong to the old place. They expect you to come back. They expect your silence to weaken you, but they do not know that silence has become the place where you heal. where you reflect, where you piece yourself back together into a new version, not broken, not shattered, but sharper, brighter, and so calm that they cannot understand it. Some people only know how to exist when they have someone to control. When you break free from that control, they lose direction. They do not know how to love without conditions. They do not know how to connect without power. They do not know how to exist without an audience for their emotional performances. And you, who once sat in the front row of those performances, have stood up and walked out. No noise, no fury, just a quiet departure. And that is what throws them off balance. You see, your silence is not emptiness. It is fullness, full of understanding, full of awakening, full of self-respect. You are not closing the door to hide. You are closing it to protect the peace that God planted in you long ago, but that you rarely listen to. Then one day, after too many collisions, you decided to listen, and silence became the answer. You are not numb. You were never numb. You simply stopped letting others control the temperature of your soul. You stopped letting others decide when you are happy, when you are sad, when you are allowed to exist. And when a person stops allowing that, people call them cold, distant, hard to understand. They label you not because you are wrong, but because they do not know how to exist inside your growth. So never think you have changed for the worse. You have not changed. You have returned to yourself. Return to the peace once drowned out by someone else's noise. Return to the stillness you were told was weakness, but stillness has become the strongest thing you own. This separation, this silence, this walking away, all of it is the beginning of your rebirth. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to explain. You do not need to hold on to anyone. And that is the moment when all the power they thought they had begins to fall apart. People are not afraid of loud explosions. People are afraid of what they cannot predict. And nothing is harder to predict than someone who used to react to everything they did, now standing as quiet as the sea at sunrise. That silence makes them feel like they are facing something they cannot calculate. It shakes them in ways you never knew. Because before, they only needed to say one sharp sentence and you instantly felt the need to explain. They only needed to create a little chaos and you rushed to put out the fire. You once believed you did that because you were loving. But the truth is you were pulled into their noise so deeply that you forgot the sound of your own voice. And now, when you no longer chase, no longer explain, no longer jump in to fix the mess they created for themselves, they do not know what to do with you. Psalm 46 verse 10 whispers something into your heart that took you years to finally hear. Be still and know that I am God. You do not realize that every time you choose silence instead of reacting, every time you step back instead of rushing into conflict, you are standing exactly where this psalm wants you to stand. Faith is not always shouting loud enough for heaven to hear you. Sometimes faith is the moment you close your mouth, keep your peace, and trust that your stillness has a place in a larger plan. They start raising the noise because when you stop dancing to their rhythm, they have to find another way to pull you back into the old cycle. You see their explosions, do you not? They shift from cutting words to dramatic gestures, from distance to disruption, from punishing silence to spreading stories, creating false urgency just to see if you will run to them. Every outburst is not about hurting you, but about testing whether you still belong to them. But you no longer belong to them. You do not react. You do not blame. You do not answer with chaos. You look at them the way you look at a child, trying to make noise for attention. And you understand that attention is no longer something you owe them. The moment you stand still in front of the waves they create is the moment they realize the most frightening truth. They never had real power. The only power they had came from your reaction. and now you have taken that gift back. They scream louder because of this. The louder they scream, the more your silence cuts through the air like a sharp blade. You know that feeling, a very real, very clear sensation, like they hear your silence louder than their own shouting. You do not need to swing your hands or throw words. They expose themselves through your quiet. No one told you this before, but manipulators are not afraid of confrontation. They are afraid of clarity. And you are so clear-minded now that they can no longer perform in front of you. Every tactic they used to shape the story, every fear they planted in your heart, every guilt they weaponized to pull you close, now loses its power. You see every move, every pattern, every mask. And when someone sees everything, yet chooses silence, it is not weakness, it is judgment. You say nothing, but your silence rings in their mind like a warning bell. The louder they get, the calmer you become. The more they try to cover things up, the more transparent they look, the more they act, the more you walk away from the stage. And you do this not to prove anything, but because you know your soul no longer belongs to those performances. People think silence is giving up, but sometimes silence is the deepest form of maturity. You are not silent because you fear. You are silent because you understand. The truth does not need shouting to stand firm, and you do not need anyone to validate your worth to know who you are. Sometimes, when you hear the criticism, the distortions, the twisted use of your name coming from their mouth or from those who follow them, you feel a slight pull inside. A part of you once wanted to speak up, to clear things, to make people understand you. But then you remember that you already explained hundreds of times before, and not once did they truly listen. Not because you did not speak well enough, but because they never intended to understand. You are silent now because your eyes are open. And if something in this story touches a part of you, if you recognize that this is not someone else's story, but your own, leave a few words below so I know you are waking up with this light, not for engagement, not for attention, but to give your soul a place to say, I am rising too. If you feel this journey opening something inside you, you can follow along so you do not miss the words you should have heard long ago. Because from this point on, no one can pull you back into your old self again. You never needed anyone to name you, but the first thing they do when they can no longer hold you is try to label you. They cannot bend you anymore, so they call you stubborn. They cannot pull you back, so they call you cold. They cannot make you collapse, so they say you are heartless. They cannot make you tremble like before, so they call you arrogant. They cannot read you, so they call you confusing. But none of that has ever been true. Those labels are simply the reaction people have when they lose control. You stand calm in front of those words, but if you look deeper, you will see something else. They are not describing you. They are describing their own helplessness. People get angry when they lose what they were used to controlling, not because it suddenly became wrong. The labels they throw at you are not who you have become. They are the sound of their frustration when they realize you are no longer someone they can wound with ease. You used to feel hurt by this because you believed they did not understand you, but the truth is very different. They understand you perfectly. They understand you more than you think. They understand that beneath your stillness is a dignity they cannot touch. They understand that someone like you, once you see the game, never walks back into it. They understand that once you reclaim your power, they no longer have a role in your life. And that truth is what triggers their campaign to rewrite your image. They tell the story in a way that makes them look like the victim. They use gentle words with sharp undertones, casual remarks with hidden intention, caring phrases laced with distortion. They create a version of you they hope the world will believe. Not because the world needs to believe it, but because they need it to soothe their own ego. When people can no longer control you, they try to control how others see you. Psalm 27 verse 1 becomes the light you did not know you needed at that moment. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And that verse helps you understand that you do not need to chase after any story to fix it. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply continues to shine. And when you stand in your own light, their false stories fade on their own. Do you know what bothers them the most? Not that you left, not that you did not react, but that you did not explain. A person who has spent their whole life making others comfortable will always be misunderstood when they begin choosing themselves. But you have outgrown the need for others to understand. Now you understand yourself enough to know that the truth does not need defending. They label you in hopes you will come back to clarify. They want you to feel guilty, to feel misunderstood, to feel the need to prove yourself. They wait for you to step down so they can prove you are not as different from your old wounded self as you seem. But you do not step down, and your silence angers them because they do not know what to do next. They were never built to face someone who is awake. Have you noticed this? When the people who once made you small no longer know how to stand beside your strength, they try to shrink that strength so you fit the size they are comfortable with. But you have grown bigger than their frame. You no longer fit in that narrow space. Your separation exposes the things they once hid behind smiles. They were used to you lowering yourself. When you stop doing that, the space between you begins to reveal the truth. You are not becoming someone worse. You are simply refusing to play the role that helped them keep their mask intact. Then something else happens. They look at you with the eyes of fear. They will not say it out loud, but deep inside they know you have risen beyond the reach of their control. You are not on the same frequency anymore. You no longer live by shallow emotions. You no longer get pulled down by their low energy. You have learned to walk straight, keeping your spine steady, not bending with anyone's anger or affection. You think you have changed, but the truth is you have returned to your original nature, strong, clear, and no longer shrinking yourself to make someone else comfortable. People call you many things, but they will never call you what is most accurate free. You reclaimed that freedom by walking away from everyone who demanded you live within the limits they chose. You no longer let anyone decide what you are allowed to feel, what you are allowed to say, or how you are allowed to exist. That freedom makes you look different in their eyes. They say you have changed, but what they do not say is this: they no longer know how to control this version of you. And deep down, that is what frightens them more than any label they have ever used. You are not responsible for their fear. You are not responsible for their inability to grow with you. You are responsible for one thing only: protecting the part of your life you once sacrificed too much to keep. No one has the right to call your growth a wrongdoing. No one has the right to twist your awakening to make you question yourself. You are not heartless. You are being reborn. And anyone who looks at you now, if they truly love you, will recognize exactly that. You were never the one who carried anyone's darkness. But the first thing people do when they can no longer bear their own shadows is throw them onto you. They do not want to face their insecurity, their confusion, their hurt. So they look for the nearest place to unload it. And you, with the soft heart you once had, the heart willing to hold pain that was never yours, became the place they poured what they could not face. Not because you were weak, but because they knew you would not throw back what they hurled. You were that gentle once. But when you begin to pull yourself out of stories that do not belong to you, they no longer know who to blame. When you stop being the mirror that reflects their ego the way they want, they grow angry as if you betrayed the role they assigned you. They do not want you as a person. They want you as a mirror that reflects only what they like to see. But when the mirror begins to reflect the truth, they break it. They call you the problem, call you the cause, call you the negative change. But if the truth is revealed long enough, you will see this more clearly than ever. They do not hate you. They hate the feeling of having to look at themselves when standing next to you as you do nothing at all. Your peace alone makes them uneasy. Your silence alone makes them feel judged. Your refusal to chase makes them feel abandoned. You are not trying to make them small. You simply refuse to make yourself small so they can breathe easier. But for people who live in internal chaos, anyone who refuses to fall into the same rhythm feels like a threat. They begin to say, "You have changed." But you know exactly how you have changed. You have become calm. You no longer respond to every emotional poke they throw. You no longer jump into every battle they create. You no longer worry about what they think of you. And it is this lack of reaction that drives them mad, because they only know how to exist in the role they play when you are still reacting. You stop reacting, and they lose their balance. The quiet inside you is not emptiness, it is fullness. The fullness of a soul that spent too long living in the shadow of someone else's chaos. When you step into your own light, their eyes burn. They are not used to real light. They are used to the artificial one they create. But the light you carry is not the kind that can be adjusted. It does not soften because they are uncomfortable. It does not dim because they are jealous. It does not shrink because they demand it. And because they cannot control that light, they name it with dark words. Psalm 139, verses 23 to 24 rises like a whisper from the deepest part of you. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. You do not realize that when you stand in front of distortions, suspicions, twisted stories, you are undergoing a real examination, not to prove yourself to them, but to prove to yourself that you are no longer shaken by the shadows of others. And that examination makes you stronger in a way you never experienced before, because it helps you see one important truth. You are not responsible for carrying anyone's true nature. You are not the keeper of their emotional secrets. You are not the place where they dump their anger. You are not the floor they step on when they are uncomfortable. You are not the emotional trash can for things they refuse to hold. You are a person, a whole soul, a life with its own light. They call you cold, but they do not know it is the calm of someone who no longer fights for recognition. They call you heartless, but they do not know it is the clarity of someone who sees through intention. They call you distant, but they do not know it is the rightful protection of someone who refuses to be used. They call you arrogant, but they do not know it is the upright posture of someone who has walked through fire. Have you noticed this? Every word they throw at you is a confession. When they call you cold, they confess they no longer control your emotions. When they say you changed, they confess that you are no longer easily swayed. When they say you are hard to read, they confess that they can no longer read you well enough to bend you. Every label they offer exposes the truth. They lost their power. And when a person loses power, they throw their darkness at anyone who stands near the light. But you no longer let that darkness stick to you. You are too awakened to return to your old form. You do not need to explain your peace to anyone. You do not need to convince anyone of your growth. You only need to keep standing in the light you paid for with your own journey. You once believed you were responsible for helping them heal, but now you know some people do not want healing. They want someone to absorb the damage for them, and you have stopped taking that role. You are no longer the one they can dump responsibility onto. You are no longer the mirror they can distort. You are no longer the soil where they plant chaos and expect you to harvest it. You are now the one standing before your life with open eyes, steady hands, and a heart no longer controlled by someone else's emotions. And from that moment on, they no longer know what to do with you. You are not cold. You are clear. You are not distant. You are free. You are not heartless. You are awake. You are not arrogant. You are self-respecting. And this truth, the truth that you are handing their darkness back to them, is what makes them tremble. You do not know that the moment you withdraw from endless arguments, from emotional games, from vague and twisting conversations, you unintentionally pull the curtain down on the stage they built. You think silence is only your way of protecting your heart, but in truth, your silence is a beam of light shining straight into the dark corners they kept hidden, and when that light lands, everything they used to cover themselves begins to fall away, piece by piece. They are not hurting because you are silent. They are hurting because the light in that silence exposes the parts they never wanted anyone to see. They are not upset because you left. They are upset because when you left, you took with you all the chaos they once dumped on you, leaving them face to face with the truth that the chaos never belonged to you. It was theirs, from beginning to end. You have seen this already, even if you never said it aloud. From the moment you stopped answering those 3-page messages, from the moment you no longer felt the need to sit down and explain everything clearly, from the moment you stopped being pulled into conversations that spiraled with no end, you thought your withdrawal would make them feel lighter. Instead, it made them feel heavier. Not because they loved you, but because you were the emotional float they used so they would not have to face themselves. And now that the float is gone, they must learn how to swim, and they do not know how. Psalm 91 verse 1 whispers over your shoulder like a warm breath. Whoever dwells in the secret place of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. You do not know when you stepped into that secret place, but one morning you woke up and realized the quiet was no longer frightening. You realized you no longer had to strain to be seen. You realized you no longer needed chaos to feel alive. You realized you were protected by something larger than the fear of being misunderstood. When you entered that calm space, they felt the distance instantly. Not physical distance, but energetic distance. The distance between someone who is healing and someone who clings to chaos to hide what has not healed. They see you standing still, and suddenly a truth inside them lights up in a way they did not expect. It is not your silence that makes them feel small. It is your peace that reminds them they never had any. You become the mirror they do not want to look into, but you never held that mirror up. They see themselves in it simply because you no longer move with the emotions they throw at you. When they say something hurtful, you do not collapse. When they disappear, you do not chase. When they shift their tone, you do not twist yourself trying to understand. When they blame you, you do not rush to take the fault. All of this confuses them. Because in the past, a little silence from them would make you panic. A little distance from them would make you question what you did wrong. But now, when they use the same old tricks, nothing lands. You remain standing, and that steadiness makes them feel like they are falling. You once thought you were being isolated, but the truth is, you were being separated. Separated from the chaos that no longer belongs to you. Separated from people who wanted to shrink you. Separated from stories built on blame. Separated from connections that existed only when you were sacrificing yourself. You were not left behind. You were carried out. You were lifted to a higher place. A place they can no longer reach. They call it avoidance, but you know it is protection. They say you changed too fast, but you know you simply returned to yourself. They say you are overreacting, but you understand they want you back in the old role. The role of someone who heals wounds that are not yours. The role of someone who calms storms they created. The role of someone who dims their own light so others can breathe easier. You stepped out of that role, and from that moment on, you no longer fit the story they wrote. The most telling truth is this: they are not afraid of losing you. They are afraid of losing the control they had when you were still there. They are afraid of losing the person who carried their emotions. They are afraid of losing the one they could manipulate through silence. But when you choose calm instead of obsession, clarity instead of confusion, boundaries instead of endurance, they cannot follow your path. You walk straight ahead, and they stay where they are waiting for the old version of you to return. But you will not return, because now you know. Not everyone is meant to enter the space of your soul. Not everyone is worthy of seeing your heart while it heals. Not everyone has the right to witness the person you are becoming. You did not disappear. You simply became harder to reach. Not because you built walls, but because you rose higher. And people on the ground will always say you are distant, but they do not know you are standing where the light is clearer, where the noise below is no longer loud enough to touch you. And if you feel yourself in that place, where others call you cold, different, distant, drifting, understand this. It is not decline. It is separation. Separation for protection. Separation for healing. Separation that lifts you into the light that unready souls cannot follow. You are not hurting them with your silence. You are simply stopping the harm you once did to yourself by holding on to people who never wanted to stand at the same depth as you. You do not know how strong you are until the moment you stop reacting. That is the moment everything shifts. Not because you are trying to look strong, but because you no longer want to live inside the emotional cycle someone else created. When you no longer respond to every jab, every provocation, every raised eyebrow loaded with meaning, every vague sentence designed to spark conflict, they suddenly become weaker in ways they never expected. The truth surfaces quickly. The only power they ever had came from your reaction, not from themselves. They try every old tactic. They twist their words. They build conflict. They pretend to be hurt. They create distance and then act as if you caused it. But every familiar move becomes empty now because you are no longer participating in the dance. They throw bait. You do not bite. They build a stage. You do not step on it. They provoke a battle. You do not enter it. And when someone who once succeeded in pulling you into their emotional storms finally realizes they can no longer reach you, they begin to panic in ways you have never seen. You are no longer distracted by noise. You are no longer turning with the shifting temperature of someone else's emotions. You become steady in the middle of a strong wind, and that steadiness reveals their true nature, not because you are trying to expose them, but because without your reactions to cling to, they have no choice but to show themselves. Every twisted word, every controlling tone, every conversation built to keep you small becomes obvious when you stand still. They lose direction because you no longer walk to the beat they play. And when they lose direction, they try harder, grow louder, strike harder. You once thought that the quieter you became, the more everything would calm down. But you forgot one thing. People who survive on your energy will do anything to pull you back into reacting. Their chaos is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that they are desperate in the face of your awakening. In the deepest place inside you, a new door has opened, a door they do not have a key to. You step into a peace you paid for with years of hurt. You no longer give them access to it. And because they cannot follow, they begin saying you are arrogant, that you are different, that you are not who you used to be. But you know the truth. You are not growing colder. You are warming in the right place. And this is where your prophetic mark appears, 777. The mark of awakening, of a soul unlocking, of clarity that no one can dim again. It is not a number for superstition. It is a reminder. A cycle has ended, and you are standing on a new step without carrying anyone's burden. If this story makes your heart move with the rhythm of 777, if you feel the number is not just a number, but a calling, share it as a quiet agreement that you are ready for the next step. They see you standing still and think you are unmoving, but inside you are moving in ways they cannot imagine, no longer chasing others. You chase your own light. No longer holding broken pieces, you build a new foundation. No longer begging others to value you. You learn to value yourself. And when you follow that path, they cannot follow with you. Not because you push them out, but because that level of energy no longer fits them. There is a truth you must hold on to. When you stop reacting, you do more than ruin their game. You collapse an entire system that required you to be small. When you stand straight, that system falls apart. When you are silent, that system loses its voice. When you refuse to argue, their distortions sink on their own. When you stop chasing, they must face themselves. And that is what makes you dangerous in the most beautiful way. You once thought silence was defeat, but now you know silence is victory. Not victory over them, but victory over yourself. The version of you who was once too afraid of being abandoned and clung to things that no longer belonged to you. The day you stopped reacting was the day you reclaimed yourself completely. They will say you are heartless. They will say you changed. They will say you are distant. But deep down, they know what hurts them most. You are no longer controlled. You are no longer predictable. You are no longer easily swayed. And they are no longer the center of your emotional world. The door you closed is not for hiding. It is closed because you are stepping into another place. A place where peace does not come from others but rises from within you. And no matter how much noise they throw, you will not return to the old place. Because now you know you were born to go farther than that. You do not realize this right away, but the calm within you has become a language very few people know how to read. They look at your face, they see that you do not react, do not panic, do not chase after the storm they create, and they conclude that you are cold. But if they could see inside you, they would know it is not the coldness of a frozen heart, but the coldness of metal that has passed through fire, a steady quiet forged from all the times you broke and rebuilt yourself in silence. What confuses them most is not that you are silent. It is that you are silent without collapsing. People are used to seeing silence as surrender, but in you, silence is mastery. You are no longer swept into the emotional whirlwinds of others. You know how to guard your heart against provocation, against suspicious eyes, against attempts to pull you back into the chaos you already left. You do not react because you are no longer controlled, and that makes you different. They live off reactions, they breathe through noise, they feel alive through drama, confrontation, and the moments they make someone explode or break, but you no longer join in. And you never claimed that you do not feel pain. You simply refuse to let that pain become a tool in someone else's hands. You hold your heart close the way someone protects a small fire on a cold night, not to show it off, but to keep it alive. That calm unsettles them in a strange way, because when they see someone no longer moved by the old emotional strings, they realize those strings never bound you at all. They only bound the parts of you that were not fully grown. Now those parts are strong, and because of that, they lose their grip. Do you see it? A person may shout loudly, slam their hands, manipulate emotions, but they will always fear the one whose silence they cannot reach. Not because silence means lack of emotion, but because silence means you can no longer be led. You no longer stand inside the storm to prove anything. You stand outside it, looking in, knowing not every battle deserves your presence. They call you hard to read, but truly, they have lost the right to read you. They call you distant, but truly, you have built a boundary where they once walked freely. They call you heartless, but truly, you have stopped hurting yourself by giving without limits. Psalm 23 verse 4 comes alive inside you, not as a verse, but as a breath. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. You have walked through those valleys before, places where you thought you would never be strong enough to rise again. But now, as you stand in a space wide enough to look back, you see you have grown in a way no noise can deny. Your calm is not the absence of feeling. It is the fullness of a heart that once loved too hard, hurt too deeply, and has finally learned the discipline of protecting itself. You no longer shake with every gust of wind from someone else. You have become a rooted tree, steady, quiet, needing no explanation. They dislike it because they live in storms. They are used to people who follow those storms. When they see you stand still, they cannot comprehend it. To them, peace is suspicious, stillness is emptiness, and your emotional discipline is a threat. But to you, peace is something you learned through tears. Stillness is something you chose over 100 moments when you wanted to explode. And emotional strength is something you trained after giving your heart to people who never held it with care. You have become a silent mirror, a mirror that does not speak but reveals, a mirror that does not expose but illuminates, a mirror that does not judge but forces people to see what they avoid. And people always fear that mirror when they are not ready for their own reflection. But you do not need them to be ready. You do not need them to admit anything. You do not need them to understand. You only need to keep the peace you fought so hard to gain. They will continue to say you have changed. But change here does not mean losing something. It means taking it back, taking back your voice, the one you silenced for the sake of harmony, taking back your heart, the one you made small to fit someone else's mold, taking back the peace they once said you did not deserve. You are not cold, you are awake. You are not distant, you are selective. You are not unfeeling. You have touched the deepest layers of yourself. And when someone goes that deep, they can never return to the old ways again. You do not need to expose anyone. You do not need to point at their face and recite what they did, what they said, or how much chaos they created. Truth has its own way of stepping into the light, and all you have to do is stand still for the mask to fall on its own. The strange thing is that you once believed you had to speak loudly, explain everything clearly, and defend your honor from twisted stories. But the more you grow, the more you realize silence is the only voice deep enough to reveal everything they try to hide. They think you left because you were afraid, but you left because you were tired of holding broken pieces that were never yours. They think you stayed quiet because you were weak, but you stayed quiet because you were done wasting your soul on repeated arguments. They think you became distant because you were angry, but you became distant because you saw them more clearly than ever. And people always fear the eyes that see through them. Psalm 18 verse 28 rises like a line you once read, but never fully understood. You light my lamp. The Lord my God illuminates my darkness. You do not realize that the moment you stopped chasing their version of the truth was the moment real truth began to shine on them. You did not lower your light to expose anyone, but the light within you, the light of clarity, of maturity, of no longer being swayed, became strong enough to illuminate places they thought would remain hidden forever. You do not need to speak. You do not need to confront. You do not need to collect evidence. All you have to do is step out of the space they used as their stage, and the entire performance collapses. You walk away and they have no one left to act with. Their sarcastic lines no longer gain strength from your reactions. Their punishing silences no longer shake you. Their sudden shifts in attitude no longer confuse you. And when that happens, every tactic becomes visible. They are not exposed because you accused them. They are exposed because they no longer have anyone to hide behind. A person can only hide what is inside them when there is someone close enough to blame, soft enough to manipulate, caring enough to twist the story. But when you leave, when you stop being their emotional cushion, they are left alone with themselves. And in that moment, they must face the truth that never belonged to you. The voids they covered with noise, the fears they covered with anger, the wounds they covered with blame, the thirst for control they covered with a cold tone. You walk away, and the stage becomes empty. They stand there with a role no one is watching. And the most painful thing for them is not losing you. It is losing an audience, losing power, losing the place to throw their darkness. You do not seek revenge. You only seek peace. But in reclaiming that peace, truth begins to rise like morning air, clear, sharp, undeniable. People can resist accusations, but they cannot resist the truth inside themselves. And when that truth appears because of your silence, they conclude that you are distant, cold, lacking emotion. But the truth is, you have never been clearer. You once thought that if you stepped away, everything would become more tangled. But instead, when you left, everything became more visible. Not because you suddenly became wise, but because when you stopped reacting, your mind was no longer fogged by their confusion. You could see the path. You could see the motives. You could see your worth. And most importantly, you could see this truth. You were never seen as a person. You were seen as the energy they used to avoid facing themselves. Now, when they see you walking forward, they see something they never expected. You are self-directed. You do not look back. You do not tremble. You do not hope they understand. You do not wait for their final words. And that frightens them more than your anger ever could. Someone angry is still tied to them. Someone silent has left the game. What hurts them most is not that you walked away. It is that you walked away without a sound. No regret, no negotiation, no permission, no explanation. That firmness hits them like cold water, reminding them of a truth they never wanted to face. They were never as important as they thought. You did not disappear. You grew in the quiet they no longer have access to. You are not avoiding them. You are choosing a calmer place. You are not rejecting them. You are rejecting the role they tried to assign you. And now they watch you from afar, both curious and bitter, both envious and confused. They want to know why you are still peaceful without them, why your life did not fall apart the way their script predicted, why you grow stronger, brighter, harder to reach. But they will never ask directly, because they already know the answer is something they do not want to hear. You awakened, and they are still stuck inside themselves. You did not expose them. You did not fight them. You simply stepped out of the cycle. And when you stepped out, the cycle fell apart. That is not betrayal. That is liberation. You have not disappeared from their life. You have simply risen to a level they can no longer see. What hurts them is not that you left, but that they must look upward to find you. And they are not used to seeing anyone from that angle. They are used to looking down. They are used to seeing you shrink, bow, soften. But now, as you stand upright in your own light, that distance becomes too great for them, not because you grew taller, but because they refuse to rise with you. In their eyes, you vanished. But in your eyes, this is the first time you see life without the smoke they created. You did not fly away. You simply grew in the right direction. And when you grow in the right direction, you become harder to see from the levels you have already outgrown. They remain there, clinging to old versions of you, hoping you will come back so they can feel safe. But you are not at that level anymore. The irony is they say you are avoiding them, but you are simply moving forward. And when someone moves forward, those who stay still will always feel abandoned, even though you never left anyone behind. You did not choose distance. You chose truth. You did not choose coldness. You chose clarity. And not everyone wants to live in that clarity. Many people are so familiar with darkness that they see light as a threat. You feel this most clearly when you begin reclaiming the pieces of yourself that were taken. When you take back the voice you once made small so others would not feel inferior. When you take back the self-respect you once set aside just to maintain a relationship that never honored you. When you take back your time, your mind, your energy, all the things they spent without gratitude, and when they realize those things no longer belong to them, they call you selfish. But no one calls freedom selfish unless that freedom no longer serves their benefit. You do not walk away empty-handed. You walk away carrying every piece of yourself you once lost, trying to keep them comfortable. Your gentleness, your peace, the clarity of your heart, your patience. Not to endure the wrong people, but to love the right ones. Your strength, not to defeat anyone, but to never lose yourself again. You gather those pieces like someone walking through a battlefield, realizing they did not die. They lived, not only lived, but lived deeper, clearer, truer. As you rebuild yourself, you no longer build in anyone's shadow. You build in light. You build in honesty. You build in silence. And you do not realize this, but that very silence is the reason they can no longer see you. Not because you are absent, but because you now exist at a frequency they cannot reach. When a soul recalibrates its frequency, what no longer matches falls away on its own. You do not need to chase anyone. You do not need to shut doors. You do not need to cut ties. When you stand where you truly belong, connections that are not meant for you fall off naturally. And that is not loss. That is purification. They say you are careless, but no one careless learns to stand up from the deepest wounds. They say you are cold, but no one cold learns to guard their heart after it has been hurt. They say you disappeared, but no one who disappeared shines brighter every day the way you do. They only speak from the place they stand, and the place they stand is no longer high enough to understand you. Do you see? You have not become distant. You have become valuable. You have not become cold. You have simply become less accessible because now you know your soul is not a place everyone is allowed to enter. You are not indifferent. You simply understand that no one has the right to hurt you twice if you learned the lesson the first time. The silence you carry now is not bitter. It is ripe. It is the taste of someone who has walked far enough to know when to speak, when to hold back, when to walk away, when to stay still. People once used silence to punish you. Now you use silence to protect yourself. The difference is simple. Once, silence made you shrink. Now, silence makes you expand. You did not stop loving life. You simply stopped loving the wrong people. You did not stop giving. You simply stopped giving where gratitude never lived. You did not stop being gentle. You simply learned to be gentle in the right places. And that is what makes you different in ways not everyone can handle. They watch you rise and feel wounded, but that wound does not come from something you did to them. It comes from the fact that they cannot keep you in the low place where they are used to living. You are no longer pulled down, and that reminds them of their own stagnation. You are no longer shaken, and that reminds them they never had the power they believed they had. You no longer accept the old role, and that reminds them they must be real, a role many people are too afraid to play. You are not the one who disappeared from the story. You are the one who turned the page, and when people refuse to turn the page with you, they will always claim you are going the wrong way, but you know the truth. This is not a step backward. This is a calling. You are walking the path that only the strongest souls walk, the path of separation before rising. And people can say whatever they want, but they cannot change this truth. You are growing in the right direction. And that is the only truth you need to carry as you keep moving forward.
Grateful that you chose to spend these moments in the light of this story. If it touched your soul, please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell so the next whisper of light may find its way back to you.